Hello. Um, my name is Phil. For anyone who doesn't know me, I am a community member here at Big Bass Lake, and I'm sitting down right now with Alexis Tzap. She is one of our candidates running for the upcoming Big Bass Lake Board of Directors election. So, Alexis, I'm just going to ask you a few questions right now. Give the community members here an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better and see some of your points of view that you'd like to share.
Awesome.
So let's hop right into it. I'm going to ask you first, just what do you love most about Big Bass Lake?
When we first purchased their house, I was envisioning just having it as a retreat for my friends and family. But once we really started getting to know the people, I really fell in love with the place. So I really love the people of Big Bass Lake. We all come from different backgrounds, but we all seem to have the same love for the grounds and nature. And that's really what I love, is the community aspect.
Nice, nice. What attributes do you feel you possess that would make you an effective leader and potential board member for Big Bass Lake?
So by achieving my MBA and navigating through the corporate world, I feel like I've really gotten to understand the business side of things. So I really do understand the business side of a homeowners association. And I think with just the tools that I learned, I can figure out a way to help use the assets that we already have and to use them better. Also, some other attributes that I have is that I am really dedicated to the cause. As soon as I purchased my house in Big Bass Lake, it was the first thing I wanted to do was find out, how can I join the recreation committee? Right now on my job, I plan a lot of events. And so I thought this would be a great way to give back to the community and to show them what I can do. And so I went around and I found out how to join the recreation board. And now I'm the recreation vice chair, and I love being on the recreation board. Some other things that I think that are really great about myself,
If I don't mention,
is that I'm very empathetic. I really do want to listen to people. I am not trying to be on the board just as a public, soapbox for myself to tell you the woes of what I have with this community. I really want to hear what other people's problems are. I feel like if I can hear other people's problems, then we really can start to get plans made to fix the problems within the community. And yeah, I think those are my attributes.
great, thank you. Okay, our next question. One challenge for any public servant is your ability to exercise duty of care. So how will you segregate your personal opinions and your personal beliefs from doing what you think is in the best interest of your constituents?
So because I know that this is going to be a public servant job, I think that first and foremost, I'm going to always keep that as a top of line for myself. I'm always going to remember this is something that is for everyone, and it's not here just to benefit myself. Back to being empathetic, I think that's the most important part of this, is that you have to be an active listener. You have to listen to the community and find out what the problems are and figure out solutions for the problems. And another thing that I need to do when I hear another problem is I need to start researching it and analyzing it. I think once you have all the data in front of you, it's easier to make a decision on what to do. And it's easier to say, this is what's benefiting the community and not benefiting myself. And so using those things, I think that will let me stay top of line, and I will be a good public servant to the community.
Great, thank you. So, you've mentioned being empathetic. You've mentioned wanting to be a public servant. So how specifically are you willing in that role to promote diversity, equity, inclusion to our current members, our guests, and potentially future members at Big Bass?
I am committed to creating a more welcoming environment to anyone who comes to Big Bass Lake. I want to prioritize all different members, visitors, and guests, and make sure that we are actively connecting with everybody. I think a good part about doing that would be going to all the different events that we have and talking to all the different people here. I would love to see an event where we had an eat around the world with everybody and everyone could bring different dishes from their cultures, and we can learn a little bit more about everyone's different culture within the community. I also would love to see something during March for Women's History Month. I think that there's so many women that have achieved great things in this community, and it would be great to have a networking event or have someone speak during these events so that we can show all the great things that women are doing in the community. I also believe providing a safe space and support to all members is very important. I think it gives everyone a sense of belonging. I also want to really push to allow any members who aren't as tech savvy as other people to have a way for them to get their, communication across to us. They might not be able to use the internet and might not be able to be finding certain events that we're having and things of that sort. So I want to be able to have an outreach program that we can outreach to some of the senior citizens in the neighborhood so that we know that they're feeling included and that they're going to be invited to the events that we're having.
Wow, that's awesome. So speaking on, you talk about members being tech savvy, and as I'm a part of several Big Bass Lake groups on social media. I know you are as well. One thing that's top of mind, especially rolling into this election right now, is the us versus them mentality. So irrespective of your personal use of your home, whether you rent it or whether you don't, what are your thoughts on this quote unquote us versus them mentality, between the non-rental home members and then members that do choose to rent their home? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, social media ruins everything. It's a great tool, but we all know that because of social media, we're really having these problems. I have never been in person with anybody and heard about the us and them mentality. It seems to be kind of more of a keyboard warrior situation, unfortunately. And I really wish that our community didn't have us versus them. With full transparency, I rent my house about 25% of the time. It helps pay the mortgage. And I really do empathize with people who live here full time, because I think the people who live here full time and have a very bad taste in their mouth from the short-term renters is people who have really bad experiences. And I really think that it's important for us to have an open dialogue with everyone and to make sure that we find out what the problems were. And anybody who is a bad actor for a short-term rental owner, they should have violations and they really need to be following rules and protocols, because I don't want people living in this community and not happy because they don't like what's going on next door to them. So I'm really hoping that if we can open up the dialogue, we could have not an us versus them anymore.
Yeah, me as well. Okay, so my last question that I have for you, something that again isn't always easy to talk about, but you'll certainly have to be subjected to decisions made on the board if you are a board member. We've had a litany of litigation lawsuits over the past few years with an undertone of bad behavior by board members or bad behavior by the GM. What would be your plan to prevent this from happening again? And possibly, I guess second part of the question, empower our current GM to do, what's best to keep us out of these situations.
So I think it's really important for us to advocate to have like a development plan in place that's very clear and concise so that everybody who's on the board knows that this is the code of conduct that we need to be following. And I think that that type of code of conduct could have some sort of training where we also are getting it to not just the board members, but anybody on any committees and also anybody in the office, including the GM. I think we need to have more of like a checks and balances in the community, because I think sometimes people get a little power hungry and that usually ends up being the problem and why we're probably sitting here in all these lawsuits. So I think that if we go ahead and do this training, I think that it would at least help prevent the abuse of power and hold up the integrity of the board. I really admire and want Neil to do the best for our community. I think that Neil is taking the right proper channels of what he's doing right now. So I'm going to keep continuing to encourage him and hope that this too shall pass.
Yeah, no, Neil's awesome. Very much agree. So, okay, so kind of in closing, I just want to give you an opportunity if there's any closing remarks you'd like to make or anything else you want the members of Big Bass to know about you before we close up.
So the biggest reason I'm running for Big Bass Lake is because I look at my son and he's almost 2 years old, and I see that we have a lot of life to live here in Big Bass Lake. And I want to see that him and all other children have a lot more fun and amenities that we can keep expanding on here. But before we can do those, we really need to figure out the issues with the dam. We need to figure out the issues with North Star. And I really would love to see the Wildlife Committee back reinstated. I think that this community has great framework. And I think that just with some committed people on the board, I think that we really could have a great community.
Yeah, awesome. So as we finish up here, I just want to throw out one more reminder to anyone that's watching right now that if you are mailing in your vote, it needs to be at the administration office by July 13th. Anything after that in the mail will not get counted in the vote count. And if you are dropping off your vote, your ballot at the office, at the administration office, it needs to be there by 10 a.m. July 15th. So keep those times in mind. Alexis, I just want to say thank you so much for giving us your time and allowing me to pick your brain a little bit and giving the community members here a chance to learn more about you. So thank you so much and good luck with the election.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.